I think being on Disney, first of all, I love the experience. I truthfully have nothing bad to say about it. It was amazing, and I learned a lot, and there was a lot of growth, and you know, I have that experience in me now, and again, it's helped me in many different ways. But being on Disney has also, it really grounded my authenticity, right? It really made me realize, like, yo, where do I stand? What do I stand for? What am I really about?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I worked on his earlier projects like Cool Tape Volume 1 and the mixtape he was doing when he was literally like 13, 12 or 13. I was producing with him. I was producing some of the songs with him, and his right hand, Omar Rampart. No, I'm very, content with the album, and I think it was just a choice that it was just like, I just want to go ahead and put out a body of work and kind of like, make that statement and then move on. And I feel like I'm really content right now with what I'm doing, and I feel like the moving on from it, the evolution, already being on tour.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with Teo.
What's up, yo?
So were you originally born in Atlanta, or?
Yeah, I was born in Georgia.
Yeah.
Grew up in Lawrenceville,
Okay.
Georgia. I was born in Atlanta, and I lived there till I was 9. Then I moved to LA.
Yeah. And your parents are originally from Colombia?
From Colombia, yeah. From Manizales. My dad's from Manizales, and my mom's from Medellin.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah. I go back and I visit. I got a lot of family out there.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope, yeah.
So they moved here for work or a better future?
Yeah, my parents met in New York. Yeah, I guess a better
wow.
future. My mom was just visiting NY. My dad was working with her brother. And my dad actually called that he was going to marry my mom. and my uncle was like, yeah, no way. She's too complicated. Like, she's a wild woman.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad saw a picture of her and called it and was like, I'm going to marry her. And it ended up happening.
Before they even met?
Before they ever met.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what jobs do they do? Or back then they were growing up?
Back then or now?
Has it changed?
Their work? I mean, my mom pretty much dedicated her whole life. She's my manager, essentially. So she has helped me and my brother grow here in LA. My dad actually started, now he has essentially a resort, like a holistic Ayurvedic resort. So Ayurveda is like Eastern medicine. It's like the science of self-healing, which is something I'm really much into. And so he started like a holistic center, essentially, Manizales, Colombia. And he just brings people there, and he does, certain treatments, certain things. He's created like a paradise.
Oh, wow.
He got like the side of a mountain, an abandoned mountain, and his whole family laughed at him. And they were like, what are you going to do with the side of a mountain? Like, that's just ridiculous.
How long has he been doing it?
Now I think he's going on, this is probably his 3rd or 4th year.
Oh, so it's more of a recent thing.
It's more of a recent thing, yeah. But before, when they met, my dad started a scrap metal recycling company. He had like a car dealership. He's the type of dude to just open a bunch of, just experiment with different businesses and stuff.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I guess it's just like entrepreneur.
I should have just simplified that.
Do you think you got your creative side from him?
I do think I got my creative side from him, because he's always thinking about the next idea. And I think I just got kind of the love quality from my mom, just like the quality of, I guess, being just tapped into nature and to my roots, and my inspiration definitely comes, my essence comes from my mom, I feel, along with my dad, but that drive and that creativity is definitely from my dad.
What kind of music were they playing in the house when you were growing up?
They actually, my parents and no one in my family is very musically inclined, so it was all pretty popular music. There's artists like Ricardo Arjona, artists that grew up on like Shakira and whatever was playing on the radio. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started to develop my own taste. I started getting, into the Bossa-Nova, the Jobins. That's where I get the Brazilian inspiration from.
And you were already making your own music at 10?
10 years old, yeah, I started making music. Well, I taught myself the piano at first. I kind of fell in love with the instrument. And so I remember moving to an apartment complex in LA when we first moved out. And I would always play the piano in the main area of the apartment building, and the managers of the apartment building would get so pissed off at me, because I would just play the same melody over and over again. But this is when I was first starting, I guess, to compose. Yeah, I was just like so enamored by the piano. And so that kind of developed into me just, diving deeper into music, and then I really started composing and producing when I was 10. And then eventually I kind of, with the help, I had really creative people around me, so seeing my friends' creative processes and certain things that were happening inspired me to kind of take it a little bit further than just production and composition, and then I started adding the vocal element, my self-expression, certain things that I wanted to get across or say, and I realized the power that, that every individual has in translating what they have to say, I guess. So I definitely honed in on that and started paying more attention to that and catering to that.
How did you go from living in Georgia to get into acting?
It's so funny. My mom asked a random question one day. We were like, I was 7, my brother was 8, probably going on 9, and she randomly just asked us, like, yo, would you guys want to be actors? And obviously we were so young, we were like, sure. We don't really know what that means, but like, I'm down to try it out. And so we went into this school called Barbizon Galaxy, which was an acting school. And truthfully, my mom put us in that class, or her main purpose for doing that was my brother was very shy. He was an introvert. And so my mom's goal was to essentially get him out of his shell.
Interesting.
She wasn't as worried about me because I was more of a goofball and I was just kind of out there and whatever. But she was, there was a lot of focus on my brother breaking out of, kind of the shell that he was in a bit. And so that was the main purpose for doing that. And somehow it turned into, we went to this competition called IMTA in LA when we were 9. And between my brother and I, we got a couple callbacks. And we were only supposed to be in LA when we moved out here for 6 months. And then it turned into 6 years, and
that's crazy.
Then it just turned into life.
So like soon after he got Hannah Montana and you got Disney.
Soon after, no. I was a couple films. I did this film called Yours, Mine, and Ours where I played a bully. It was really crazy. The first thing I ever booked was a film, a feature called Yours, Mine, and Ours, the remake. And it was just so funny because it was always like right before we were about to give up or, we're considering going back to Georgia, something would happen. Either my brother or I would book something. And it was just kind of like, just a sign every time if something was telling us to stay, just to kind of, like we're meant to be in LA. I don't know.
I find that super interesting because I feel like it's kind of rare for, I guess, like immigrant families to get into the arts. Yeah. Especially you guys, like your mom wanting you guys to be in acting. Like, I feel like that's unheard of.
No, it's definitely unheard of. I mean, it's becoming more common, I guess, because people are seeing. Obviously, we're more connected than we were. Obviously, when I was 9, we didn't have. Obviously, the pull and the communication that we have today. But my family definitely thought my mom was crazy when she said we were going to go to LA to try it out. Like, they were like, what the hell are you talking about? What are you gonna do? Everybody definitely has a distorted vision or version of what Hollywood is. And to everybody, it's different, I guess. But, coming here, you come here with this idealistic view on what you think Hollywood or, Los Angeles will be. And parts of it, is truthful, and other parts are just so far from true, But
what did your dad think of the whole thing? Like, did he want you guys to get into acting at like 9 or 10?
My dad was supportive of it, but he obviously had his business and he had his things that he had to do in Georgia, so he was just kind of like flying back and forth, and it became difficult, for Mom and my dad. They're not together anymore, but they were then. And it was definitely just difficult for them to communicate and be together because my mom was such a dedicated mom. She wasn't about to, she never allowed babysitters to take care of my brother and I. Like, she was always the firm hand in the situation. Like,
do you think it was ever a thing that she wanted to do acting back in the ancient so she wanted you guys to?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
I figured it was like something
my
more.
mom's dream when she was younger was to be a singer, funny enough.
Oh.
Like, she wanted to perform and she wanted to be a creative. She studied journalism, and she did her thing, but her dream was definitely translated into, the moves that we made to a certain extent. So that's funny that you say that. It's definitely true.
So were you homeschooled, or how was it with school during that time?
So my brother and I were in public school. I was in public school until the 3rd grade in Atlanta, in Georgia, where I grew up. I went to public school, and then when we moved to LA, once we started booking more jobs and started to work more and more, it obviously became more difficult to get homework done, to show up to class. And so, you know, teachers were starting to get mad, and my mom started, you know, strongly considering homeschool, but she never wanted to take us away from, you know, the element of interaction and just being, you know, in the presence of other kids and stuff. But it's just something that happened. And so in 3rd grade I became homeschooled. And then things, you know, got a little bit easier in the sense of you have teachers on set when you're working.
Oh, wow.
And so it just becomes not so much of a hassle, but public school was interesting.
Do you think you matured a lot? I mean, I guess when you're acting, most people like older than you don't really meet people your age.
Yeah. No, in the acting world, you're forced to grow up really quick.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you're on a set, you know, there are elements of having fun, obviously, but it's very serious, and you're there to accomplish something. You know, there's a very clear goal on what you're there to do, and you're surrounded by adults and people who have been in it for a while, and so, you know, you're just expected to, and I was able to observe and see what it was like to have a non-professional, you know, there was enough experiences where you're like, oh shit, that's not what I want to do, or somebody would just be complaining all the time about, oh, I just want to go home, this and that, and you have parents forcing the kids to, you know, the kids don't genuinely want to be doing, you know, the acting.
Yeah, actually, did you genuinely like it?
I genuinely liked it, yeah, of course. I mean, because it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's just something that came naturally to a certain extent. From the second we were born, my brother and I have so much footage of us as kids. Yeah. Because my mom would film everything we did. So I guess
that's why you were fine on camera.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, subconsciously, I guess I was always used to just having a lens in my face, because my mom would always have a camera on us, to the point where, you know, there's videos of my brother like, Mami, por favor, déjame, yo quiero ver, like wanting to grab the camera, and funny enough, he is a photographer and a filmmaker, and I definitely feel that, you know, my mom planted those seeds unconsciously, not even knowing, you know, not really being, there's no motive for it, but it translated into, you know, where we are today, and I definitely feel that it helped.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it helped, yeah.
What was the turning point that you realized you didn't want to, like, do you still want to do acting now, or is that kind of just
I love
in the
acting,
past?
no. The thing that I love about music is that I get to create what I want to create.
Oh, true.
You know, and I get to do it on my own time, and I get to decide what it's going to be. You know, acting is I love acting as well, but you're usually subject to someone else's vision, which is fine, because you have to, you know, learn how to work with people, and no, I love acting. And actually, I'm going to be shooting a film later this year. Oh, nice. Yeah. With my brother. We shot a short film in 2016 that's being made into a feature film now, so I'm really stoked about that. But they kind of go hand in hand, you know. Yeah. Me, now that I'm performing and I'm in front of these crowds and having to interact with people and just being, you know, being put on the spot essentially. Like, there's nothing more vulnerable than performing, and that's why I'm really growing sincere love for it. But I think acting has helped. Acting has allowed me to be in this position and be more comfortable with it, I guess, you know? Because I didn't do too much theater, but in the acting world, I did do some theater, and, you know, there's similarities between theater and performance to a certain extent, you know?
And were you doing like a YouTube with your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother and I got really into, obviously, being on set and just pulling inspiration from what's around you. You know, you want to do what you see. So we didn't want to just be actors, we wanted to be the creators behind it as well. So we ended up writing our own short stories, writing scripts and shooting them. And when Mac released the laptop with the photo booth and iMovie, and it was just revolutionary. Yeah, true. You know, we started editing, we started doing, you know, things that everybody was doing as well, but we really tried to make it as cinematic as possible. We have some really, really funny videos. And so we were just, you know, experimenting. We were honestly just having fun, truthfully, you know. It's like, I've noticed when you're just having a good time or when you're just relaxed in what you're doing, you learn the most, because there's not so much focus on like getting it right or trying to accomplish something in specific, you know. when you're having fun, it's always a loose experience of just like, you know, you get some sort of joy from it, and the learning comes as a byproduct, you know. You're already doing it, you're already, you know, you're having a good time while you're doing it, and then obviously you're taking things in as you're doing it.
Yeah. What happened in between after you finished Disney to before you started releasing music? What were you doing in that time period?
I was making a lot of music, but I just wasn't releasing it, you know? So in that time period, it was just...
So were you like just homeschooled and then doing music, or like what were you doing at that time?
Yeah. So I worked on Kicking It on the XD show until I was 18. I think 18 is when I stopped. But when I was late 15, 16, I had a big change in my life, and I started reading this Indian mystic who my dad put me onto. Again, my dad's really into the, you know, he's just always on that next wave, always evolving, always growing. A very spiritual individual, but also sincere about it. And so I pull a lot of inspiration from my dad. He put me onto this man called Osho, who's like a huge inspiration in my life, a really controversial figure. But, you know, he really opened me up to some new ways of perceiving the world, you know, and perceiving really your experience, you know, your internal experience of life. And so that's why, you know, in my music and in the way I create, there's a lot of, you know, there's just a certain angle that I take on it, you know. I don't try to throw it in people's faces because I don't feel there's a need to, because anything that's truthful and honest can just be, you know, and it's like if you're receptive to it, if you pick up on it, dope, and if not, dope. But yeah, in that time period, you know, there was a big leap of growth and just a sense of me becoming aware of certain things, and my brother and my best friend, and we all just kind of started tapping into that wave together. And then we started our brand called Misfits Rep, and it was all really through just this, you know, truthfully just the higher consciousness and just the new wave of communing, I guess, of communicating. I don't know how to articulate it in this moment exactly, but, you know, just a new way of being, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was a big shift into me, you know, releasing my music and just the way that the moves that I wanted to make. I think being on Disney, first of all, I loved the experience. I truthfully have nothing bad to say about it. It was amazing, and I learned a lot, and there was a lot of growth, and, you know, I have that experience in me now, and again, it's helped me in many different ways. But being on Disney has also, it really grounded my authenticity, right? It really made me realize, like, yo, where do I stand? What do I stand for? What am I really about?
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like it's so easy for when the world perceives you in a certain way, you know, you kind of want to rebel against it, or you start taking, you know, their perceptions and start applying them or thinking they're, you know, however, people handle it differently. But I think I was also very fortunate that my brother experienced it before me, and I was able to see his evolution, and, you know, all of the kids, you know, essentially, you know, the Kyle Massey, and just all the different people in Disney who were so dope, you know, good friends of ours, and just seeing the way everybody evolved and just pulling from that, and I guess seeing how I was going to do it in my own way. Truthfully, something as stupid as me having a beard honestly changed, because it's like the second I shave, there are some kids that are like, oh my God, Jerry from Kicking It, you know, and as soon as I grow out my beard,
totally different look.
People, you know, there are still some kids who are super receptive and are able to, like, oh wow, but, you know, there is just like an element of immediately there's something different. So I didn't have it as hard. I don't feel the evolution was as difficult for me, and again, Kicking It wasn't, Hannah Montana was like the biggest show on Disney, you know.
Yeah.
Kicking It was the biggest show of XD, but, you know, dope experience. I was able to evolve from it, and again, ground what I really was about. And luckily, I had people in my life who were doing shit on a high level, you know, and I was able to pull inspiration from that too, you know. So.
What made you wanted to add question marks to your name, and that you didn't want to go by your full name?
So Teo is, you know, just my nickname.
Yeah.
essentially. So the element of the question marks is really interesting. So first off, obviously, because I come from Spanish background, I'm Colombian. So, you know, interrogación, like the question marks is obviously how you ask a question. But there's another mystic, his name is Ramana Maharashi. And to his disciples, he would always say that one of the most important questions to ask yourself at all times is, who am I? Who am I? You always ask yourself, who am I? And you don't necessarily answer it. You just kind of sit with the question a bit, you know, and you let kind of the silence essentially answer it. And it's just the constant, you know, remembering and asking of that question. So I just feel like, to me, that's a very essential question that I've always asked myself and continue to ask myself. And that plays a role in my expression, you know, so the question marks, you know, kind of have that essence in it too, of just like, I get to be who I want to be. I get to recreate myself however I want to be. And because I do fuse so many different genres and so many different elements into my music, I feel like the question marks, I gave myself a certain freedom in having those question marks. Because I feel like in my eyes, by those question marks, I'm essentially saying like Teo, like, this is Teo? You know, like, okay, he's on this bossa wave, like, okay, now he's doing like this reggaeton thing. Like, there's obviously always streamline, you know, something that's always going to connect everything that I do. But, you know, I feel lucky enough to feel comfortable with experimenting and being obviously grounded in a certain style, a certain sound, and a certain feeling, but also being able to, you know, to push the boundary a bit, whatever I consider pushing the boundary be. You know, so I don't know, the question marks feel like freedom to me in a way, as well as, you know, reminding myself that I can be who I want to be.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And how did you first meet Jaden Smith?
That's my guy. So Jay and my brother Moises, they met at Dylan and Cole Sprouse.
Yeah.
Their 16th birthday party. So we met at that party, and I don't know, we just kind of hit it off. Literally the following day or a couple of days later, we went to his house for the first time, and, you know, there's no, just kind of happened.
And when you first started making music, and were you like in the studio working with him already, or?
So yeah, I mean, I worked on his earlier projects like Cool Tape Volume 1 and the mixtape he was doing when he was literally like 12 or 13. I was producing with him. I was producing some of the songs with him, and his right hand, Omar Rampart. So I was just kind of like, it started with us just being really good friends, you know, and evolving in that friendship, and then it just turned into, you know, we all knew we were all creative. Me and my brother were already making short films and everything before we ever met Jaden, and I feel like, you know, it's just inspirational to have friends doing dope shit. You know, when you see your friends doing cool shit, you want to do cool shit. You know, and you want to, you know, obviously collaborate. When there's already a friendship, there's already a connection. You already know how to communicate and interact, and it's just like the creativity is kind of seamless, and it just happens. So yeah, we just started making music together and films, you know, little shorts and stuff, and it kind of just all really flowed really naturally. We started the brand Misfits Rep together, and
what was it like touring with him? Was it your first time on tour?
That was my first time on tour. Being on the Vision tour, opening up for him was
that crazy? I mean, you went from like just making music yourself to performing in front of these crazy audiences.
No, it was insane. I'm so grateful for that experience, because that was like a huge slap in the face, a wake-up call of, all right, you're really doing this, you know, and it kind of I kind of graduated to just a different, you know, just a different place, because now, you know, I'm performing, like you said, in front of crowds and
then Coachella.
And people know the music. Coachella was the craziest.
Yeah.
That shit was insane.
Oh my god.
Blackout moment, the most beautiful blackout moment. You just literally walk out and it's just like 40,000 people. You're just like, wow. And I'm just so grateful for him, honestly. I have nothing but incredible things to say about Jaden. That dude's like such a sincere individual, like authentic, creative, honest, and like an integrated person. You know, he's just so intelligent, and obviously, you know, his family being who they are, they're so evolved, truthfully. You know, they're just they're just a light in the industry, in my opinion, you know. And so obviously having them as mentors and the whole family, and yeah, I just honestly have unconditional love for that family.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what made you want to release a whole album? I feel like most artists go from like a lot of singles to EP, and then after a few years, album.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of, I kind of just wanted to do my own thing in a way. It's funny, the self-titled album, it kind of like rides the line between an EP and an album. I feel like I want people to perceive it however they do, but yeah, you're right. I guess for a while I didn't like the term. I didn't like the idea of an EP for some reason. And maybe it's just because it was the thing to do that I didn't want to do it specifically. And now I'm way more into the idea, maybe after dropping the 9-song project, I'm more into the idea of releasing EPs just because I realized the power in it, and I realized you can just get something across and just, it's just like 3-5 songs to get a point across is like it's really dope. It's really powerful in a way, and you don't need a plethora of songs to get a point across. But no, I'm very, content with the album, and I think it was just a choice that it was just like, I just want to go ahead and put out a body of work and kind of like, make that statement and then move on. And I feel like I'm really content right now with what I'm doing, and I feel like the moving on from it, the evolution, already being on tour, you get to, I feel like every artist says this, but it's honest, you start to make different music when you start performing, because you start to connect with the crowd and you start to see what they like and what they vibe on, and truthfully there's a difference between making records for you to play in your car at night and then making performance records in a way, records that the audience is going to feel and that you can really just go crazy with in a way. So performing has really put a different mindset, has really kind of given me new information, some new insights into creating.
What would you say have been the biggest challenges in your life so far?
Biggest challenges in my life? I think one of the biggest challenges that I overcame was performing. In a way. I don't know why. I was never afraid to get in front of a camera. I was never afraid. And maybe it's just because there was other elements of rehearsals. You get a take two.
True, yeah.
You get a take two. In performances, you don't get a take two. It's just like you're out there, you do it, and it's you. I'm going out there as me. It's Mateo going out there and performing these records that mean something to me, and I'm actually telling stories from my life. In acting, there's always a filter. You're always standing behind something, or is there something that you can kind of get lost in a way. So there's a vulnerability to performing.
What does love mean to you?
What does love mean to me? I had a really crazy experience. Really, really crazy experience. One time I was reading this book by Drunvalo Melchizedek called Living in the Heart. And he speaks on the energetic heart. And he has like certain meditations and stuff in there. And I'm not a big fan of practicing, strict certain types of meditations. I feel like the whole point of meditation is really just like meditativeness.
Yeah.
So you always have to be in it. It's not something that you do and then it's like on and off. That's not the way I feel meditation is. But I had a really beautiful experience after reading that book. I kind of tapped into something, it's difficult to articulate, but I tapped into a certain space in my energetic heart, and I had a really crazy experience to where I kind of like locked into something really crazy, and I just felt this overwhelming vibration. I kind of felt what love was as an energy, as a frequency, more so than an idealistic approach to love, I guess, because love is the most common theme, in the world, and it's like there's so many different definitions for it that people give, and everybody has a different view on what that is. But I experienced love as a feeling and just a state of life, and to me that was what love was. And again, it's so hard to articulate because it's something that it's with us right now. And to me, it's really just an expression. It's a bit of everything. I mean, it is everything.
Yeah.
So difficult to put a finger on it, but love is life. Life is love,
Last question, what do you want to be remembered for?
What do I want to be remembered for? I think I just want to be remembered for just being an authentic representation of, you know, what it is that I'm doing. Just always make the most truthful art. Want to be known for honest art and high caliber creativity, really. And I want people to just be inspired by, you know, whatever it is that I decide to put out and create, and the choices that I make with my life, you know. I just want my life to be a statement of love and creativity, you know. I want to be remembered for honesty.
Yeah, I love this. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.